어제대로 할 거예요. 진리 그대로 안 벗어나요. 네. 그리고 이게 있고 저기도 있어요. 그러니까 예, 어디에선 적어 보시면 되니까. 예. 시작해도 될까요? 예. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's event, Securing East Asia's Energy Future, Advancing U.S. ROK-Japan Trilateral Cooperation in Natural Gas. My name is Ellen Kim. I am the Academic Director here at KEI. Thanks very much for joining us today. Enhancing energy security has become a critical aspect of U.S. ROK-Japan Trilateral Cooperation, especially in the collaboration in the natural gas sector has become gaining new momentum following President Trump's call earlier this year for Korea and Japan to participate in the Alaska LNG project. Both South Korea and Japan have also agreed to increase their imports of the U.S. LNG as part of their trade agreement with the United States. So today we're going to take a deeper look at this evolving trilateral energy partnership with our distinguished speaker, Dr. Oh Seong-ik, who is an expert on energy policy and investment in East Asia. Before we begin, I would like to properly introduce him to you. Dr. Oh Seong-ik leads Korea's Central Land Tribunal at Korea's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, managing land development projects for housing, transport, and energy. He also served as a vice chair of the OECD Working Party on Rural Policy. He holds degrees from Seoul National University, Harvard Kennedy School, and Fletcher School at Tufts, as well as he got a PhD from the Johns Hopkins Science in Washington, D.C. He has taught at Yonsei University and given guest lecture at various places, including Harvard and SNU, on topics from energy security to international development. He's the author of the two books, The Overseas Energy Investment of Korea in English, and his most recent book is the in Korean, Getting Started with Oil and Gas Industry. Thank you, Dr. Oh, for joining us today. You have written extensively about the energy security issue in East Asia. So I would like to start with the Alaska LNG project. This is becoming a very important topic, I think, in Washington, D.C. But for those who are not familiar with this project, could you briefly walk us through what this project is about and why this matters to the United States?
Basic concept of Alaska LNG project, that is the natural gas which is produced in Alaska's north slope will be transported through 800-mile pipeline to Nikiski, port of Nikiski, which is the southern part of Alaska, and then where it is occupied and shipped to the Asian market. And the plan is to export up to 220 million tons of LNG per year, and the total cost is estimated $44 billion. And the pipeline is mostly similar with pipeline route is similar with Alaska's historical oil pipeline, which is made in 1970s. Only difference is that the location of export terminal, the oil pipeline's export terminal is in Valdez. A natural gas pipeline, Alaska LNG pipeline project, the port is Nikiski, where first LNG to Japan is shipped to exported since 1969. And the reason the Alaska LNG project matters to US is that for Alaska, there has been fluctuation of revenue from the oil production. And nowadays, oil production is decreasing. And then the tax revenue from oil production also decreased. So Alaska, state of Alaska need to make up for lost oil revenue. Another thing is to replace the gas production site, shrinking gas production in Alaska, which is mostly in Cook Inlet area. The last thing is to make good jobs, high salary jobs for Alaskan people. Normally the size of labor is estimated 320,000 people. So those are the need for Alaska. For the U.S., it boosts American production, American oil and gas production, also boosts America's engagement in the Arctic area, which is the rising global competition area. You know the expression high north, that's another expression of the Arctic area. In the past time, the slogan was high north, low tension. Now it's different, high north, high tension. In particular, China's presence is quite vivid. It's related to melting ice in the Arctic Sea. As you see in the picture, in 2040, around 2040, the Arctic route will be more visible and will be utilized by many sea lines. The problem is that U.S. face challenges in maintaining its presence in the Arctic. One noticeable example is that the U.S. has only one icebreaker which can access the both poles, north and south. Only one icebreaker. You may feel that that's not enough. That's why U.S. new administration tried to develop Alaska area as a base camp for the Arctic development or engagement in Arctic area. Yeah, that's what I mentioned, and that's what my explanation on this project. Yeah.
So talking about Korea and Japan, these countries are resource poor countries that are heavily dependent on energy import from overseas. Yeah. So what is Korea and Japan's stance on this project? What are the potential benefits, opportunity, or challenges they see in this project?
As you mentioned, both Korea and Japan are resource poor countries. That's why two countries have been engaged in the overseas energy development, as I described in my first book. But that's not enough for their economic development. And they need to import oil and gas from oil producing or gas producing countries. And Alaska LNG can be one reliable source of gas, natural gas. So for Korea and Japan, the Alaska is quite closer than other area compared to Middle East. 7 days for the shipping. Second one is, as you mentioned, diversification of LNG import. For Korea, much part is from Middle East. For Japan, it imports more than 40% of LNG from Australia, very dependent on one country. So both countries need to diversify the LNG source. So fortunately, the U.S. is quite reliable gas supplier. And for U.S. and the similarity between Korea and Japan is two countries has established military alliance and a strong relationship with the U.S. That's why this Alaskan LNG project could be another attempt to strengthen the strategic relations with the U.S. But as you know, there are some challenges. The many mentioned is the high cost. I mentioned that $44 billion, a total cost of $44 billion is expected, but that's not accurate number. There is some analysis. Some people guess that in 1970, when the U.S. made oil pipeline from in Alaska, similar project, the final cost number is 9 times of first estimated cost. That's why, again, this might happen again. That kind of some suspicion exists. And it takes a rather long period. As of now, the start of export is expected in 2031 or 32. And at that time, we cannot predict exactly how much the natural gas at that time. Some companies like Shell predicts there will be much more natural gas demand, so there will be some high price. The high price can maintained. But some U.S. experts analyze that there are many new natural gas production, so there could be some oversupply, and the Alaska LNG project could be affected by those new developments, like in Qatar. And another thing is challenges in construction in too cold area. Korea and Japan has not experienced the construction in that cold area. For Korea, only one time experience is that building a small bridge in hurricane in Alaska. It's called Hurricane Bridge. Hyundai construction company construction experience deficit, difficulties in construction, and then there's no more attempt. So the construction in too cold area itself is another challenge, and it adds the complexity of construction and cost. And environmental concern exists in U.S. and there are many environmentalists also exist, and they will mention there could be some environmental impact due to the project. So these opportunities and challenges, Korea and Japan know those points. Japan make agreement with the U.S. that to establish joint venture for the project, but Japan and Korea still cautious about the involvement of the project. The reason is those there exist challenges. So we know there are good points and negative points. Maybe Korea and Japan know benefits from the project, and Korea and Japan weighing the risk until the final decision making. Yeah, that's what I think about the meaning of Alaska LNG project for Korea and Japan.
At this point.
Yes.
So, yes, I understand the economics necessity as consideration behind this, but let's look at the strategic landscape of the energy market in East Asia, particularly, there has been, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, there's a disruptions in energy market, and also there's a growing energy cooperation between Russia and China. So the question is then, what is the strategic significance of this trilateral energy cooperation in that, against that backdrop?
Yeah. And first of all, I think that the Ukraine war made the U.S., Korea, and Japan more work together about the energy security. So that's why that explains how much we cooperate in LNG project, in purchase or in investment. Meanwhile, as you read the article in last month, right, Russia and China agreed, made a major pipeline deal, agreed on major pipeline deal. We call it Power of Siberia 2. The project planned to, according to the news article, the project will provide 37 million tons of gas, natural gas, through pipeline from northern part of Russia to northern part of China through Mongolia. And why the impact of this project towards the U.S. natural gas exporter or producer has been analyzed by many experts. Maybe basic point is that the production costs of the Yamal Peninsula is quite competitive, and that throw the question of economic viability of developing new natural gas site. But issue is that China has not confirmed that agreement yet. Why? And normally 2 points mentioned. One is vis-a-vis Russia, this kind of ambiguity may provide China with the higher stance in negotiating for better terms of negotiation. And it might signal, China wants to signal to the US that China has options. It has alternative to US LNG. So these complex geopolitics of energy need to be analyzed in this part, in particular US LNG versus Russian LNG in East Asian market, which accounts for more than 50% of world LNG demand. This is my interpretation of the meaning of those incidents. Yeah.
Just a quick question on the LNG producer. Which country is the most largest producer of the LNG gas? Is it Russia or US, or just wanted to ask you about that?
Yeah, the number one natural gas producer is the US, and that is thanks to the shale revolution in early 21st centuries, and that also explains that The natural gas pipeline originally planned not to Asia, but to mainland U.S., lower 48. So pipeline the original plan of natural gas pipeline is from the Prudhoe Bay through to mainland U.S. through Canada. That was original plan. When companies, investors attempted that plan, suddenly shale revolution took place, and mainland U.S. say, "Oh, we don't need your gas." That's why the natural gas from the Prudhoe Bay lost way, and then shifted the market towards Asia. So shale revolution create many episodes in the U.S. It creates the status of U.S. as a #1 natural gas producer, and it shifted the route of natural gas pipeline to Asian way, toward Asia.
We'll probably go back to this question again, but I would like to talk about another important topic that you actually discuss in the paper, which is the Korea-Japan Joint Continental Shelf Development Agreement, which was signed in 1978 to jointly develop this area in the East China Sea. Could you explain the significance of that agreement and the current bilateral cooperations on that issue between the two countries?
Yeah. First of all, the agreement, joint development zone is drawn like this yellow line. First of all, I'd like to explain what this agreement means, because it's not that well known to the world. Even Japan doesn't explain about the project in the homepage of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It explains about China's offshore development in the East China Sea, but that Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs doesn't explain about this agreement. So that's why I need to explain this agreement first of all. Originally, there has not been the concept of continental shelf till Truman proclamation just after the World War II. Till that time, only territorial sea exists, and other part is for everybody. But after Truman proclamation, the importance of continental shelf appeared, and it's recognized by ICJ. And the reason the East China Sea is became the ground to compete is that in 1969, UN ASCAP published a report about the big potential of oil and gas in East China Sea. And then the countries, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, proclaimed their own argument. For Korea, based on natural prolongation of land territory. It means it's the continental shelf is connected to land. It's mine. So Korea's continental shelf till the reach out till the point of Okinawa Trough, it's farther than median line between Korea and Japan. So Korea proclaimed that area is boundary based on natural prolongation of land territory is Korean. On the other hand, Japan said maritime boundary should be drawn based on median line, half-half. So it reached out farther than Okinawa Trough. So inevitable there's some overlapped area. And they quarreled, negotiated, and final decision is, okay, we can develop together that overlapped, argued area. That's the start of this agreement. And that area is drawn as a joint development zone, like a yellow line, and the tail line is like a right one. This agreement became effective in 1978. It's signed 1974 and became effective in 1978. Between those 4 years, there are many political incidents between two countries. But two countries succeeded in overcoming those political challenges. Assassination of First Lady of Korea, and some uncomfortable words from Japan's ministers. And those things can, those incidents challenged this agreement, but two countries finally decided to make this effective in 1978. And then in 1980s and early, there's some development attempt, but we couldn't see good result, only 3 times of flare. And then after 2010, there has been silence, in particular from Japan. Korean government tried to jointly develop that area, but Japan doesn't respond. Only response was last year. 1 year ago's the meeting between two countries. It took place in 40 years, first time meeting. And
that was under Yoon Suk-yeol and Ishiba government.
yes,
Or
yeah,
oh, Ishiba?
last year.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's some this difference came from that change came from the different transition of international law of the sea scheme. In the past time, when this agreement was established, the natural prolongation of land territory was principal one. That's major principle. But as time goes on, the international maritime law moved toward median line principle. So for Japan, it's more favorable as time goes on. And then, so there could be some different view on the fate of this agreement. In 2028, 50 years of becoming effective of the agreement. In 2028, the agreement is not automatically expired, but the fate of the agreement is it depends on the final decision made by two countries. What I'm worried about is that the perspective of two countries is diverse. So if it's not well managed, there's some disputes. For example, if the agreement is expired and then the neighboring countries will argue about the maritime boundary, and the basic factor to decide is that some island which will be the base point of drawing EEG, exclusive economic zone. The EEG, whose island is it? For example, Daoitao, Senkaku, some people, Japanese call it Senkaku Island, Chinese people call it Daoitao. The boundary of EEG depend on whose island it is. Interesting point is, have you think about Taiwanese people's attitude or perspective on this island ownership? That's one example of what will happen in East Asia, in East China Sea, if the agreement is expired. So, and if the agreement is expired without good consultation or negotiation, that makes the relation between Korea and Japan uncomfortable, not better, not good one. In addition, from the perspective of U.S., it cannot manage the situation of conflict or disputes on maritime boundary or status of island. So I think that if U.S. need to manage this issue, the U.S. need to intervene this issue constructively in advance before expiration. That's my thought.
So the agreement expires in 2028.
So the agreement says it maintains 50 years from the being effective. That year is 1978, and it exists 50 years. But if you want to expire that year, you need to notice the expiration 3 years prior notice. That is, that time point was June 22nd this year.
Yeah, which
and it passed.
Already.
It passed without that notice. Maybe both government, Korean government and Japanese government, has common sense that we need to cooperate than conflict. So I think that philosophy is maintained.
Yeah, I mean, so idea is that Japan is in a better position right now because right now the international maritime law decides the boundary based on the median line. However, Japan has not noticed the Korean government about they would like to cancel this agreement later in 2028.
Yeah.
So the bilateral cooperation on this agreement stands firm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. As of now.
Yeah, for now. One quick question is there any natural gas in that joint development zone? What has been the outcome of the exploration in that region?
Yeah.
Do you have any sense about that?
So as of now, Chinese CNOOC, the Chinese offshore developer, the public state-owned company, established drilling platforms, about 17. That's well mentioned in the homepage of Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And CNOOC produce some some oil and natural gas in this area, and 80% of the production has been natural gas. So if there is some production in JDG, Joint Development Zone, that most parts could be natural gas.
How does the U.S. see that this place? I mean, you mentioned that I think that constructive U.S. engagement is critical before this could potentially become another territorial dispute between Korea and Japan. And given that U.S. is a natural gas export country, do you think that this may be a chance for U.S. company maybe participate in this project? Do you think that could be the potential prospect for the trilateral cooperation here?
Yeah, I think that if a U.S. oil gas companies, a gas developer is dispatched to this area, that could confirm more trust. It could produce more trustful data and information about the economic viability of the development in this joint development zone, and that could be good for both countries. And that make both countries maintain some cooperative stance about this issue.
Okay. Japan elected Sanae Takaichi as the president of LDP last week. So we are expecting that she will become the country's prime minister soon. Do you think the change of leadership in Japan will have any impact on this bilateral cooperation, the JZZ, or the trilateral energy cooperation moving forward?
Till now, the incoming prime minister has not shown her stance on this agreement. So I cannot say she will or she will not do something. As many media predicted, her first agenda will be reviving Japan's economy rather than diplomatic warfare. So I hope after new prime minister's coming, the cooperative stance between two countries can maintain. And also with the engagement of the U.S., we can make some more productive outcome from this development of this joint development zone. For American people's understanding, I can describe the attitude we need is bottom builder, very problem-solving attitude with hand-in-hand stance. So we need that kind of attitude for dealing with this issue and for trilateral cooperation. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to take some questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand, and then microphone is going around.
Thanks. I'm Tom Ramage with KEI, and wonderful presentation. I have two questions. So the first is, with the export of natural gas from Alaska to Asian countries such as Korea and Japan, how about the demand for liquefied natural gas tanker ships? Are there enough ships to kind of support the pipeline exports? And if so, is investment in this coming hand in hand with pipeline investment? And then the second is kind of referencing Lee Jae-myung's visit to the United States back in August. I think surrounding that, one, Korea Gas signed an offtake agreement with trafigura for Cheniere Energy to get U.S. natural gas, but this is out of the Henry Hub, Louisiana, Texas area. I'm curious, to what extent Korea may get gas from Alaska versus down in the Gulf. And then similarly, POSCO International, they just signed on to the Glenfarne pipeline. So how are developments in that going?
So first question is about the
LNG ships.
LNG ships. Yeah. There need to be a few new LNG carriers. The issue is that the currently planned amount of LNG is not that big. As I mentioned, the Power of Siberia 2, it exported part of Yamal LNG. It's bigger than almost 2 times of Alaskan LNG size. So if there will be another more production of natural gas in Alaska, the production size decides the demand of LNG carrier. So as of now, maybe there needs a few LNG carriers, and the number of LNG carrier depend on the production size. The second one is
about getting gas from the Henry Hub versus Alaska.
The price.
Just their choice of whether or not they'll get it from Louisiana, and Korea importing it from. If they have 2 options, Alaska versus Louisiana, will they only choose Alaska?
So as of now, experts in Korea prefer Louisiana choice options because it's kind of safe one. It produced without problem, and we can carry LNG from there now. And for them, the Alaska LNG project, there's some issues to resolve. And one of them is price issue. The price of Alaskan LNG can be lower than was similar with the Louisiana one. That could be answered. And some expert who used to work in KEI, J. James Kim, mentioned that maybe the benchmark for Alaskan LNG can be LNG Canada. Similar environment, similar size of production. So as of now, KOGAS imports natural gas from LNG Canada. If this situation is the production condition is similar to the LNG Canada, Korean exports could more think about the Alaskan LNG project more favorably than before. That's my guess.
Arias?
Hi, Arias Dare. I'm the Director of Communications here at KEI. I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on alternative and nuclear power sort of offsetting demand here? A lot of the charts that I was seeing, I think, is anticipating sustained long-term demand for fossil fuels. But as we see with the Hanwha 3 and 4 nuclear reactors that are currently under construction, as well as, of course, increased solar efficiency, I'm wondering how you expect 15, 20, 25 years from now what natural gas demand will be on the Korean Peninsula specifically, and whether nuclear and alternative fuels are going to have a major impact in that time frame.
So you ask question about the future demand, future energy mix in Korea? It's another complex issue. One is that the energy policy is decided not only from the economic perspective, but also some other perspectives. So as of now, whether new administration push nuclear power generation domestically is not publicized yet. Maybe new Ministry of Energy and Environment will decide. And then the demand on LNG will depend on the decision, because AI require a lot of electricity sustainably and without stopping. Currently, the renewable energy has not resolved that issue. It's sustainable, good, and without the supply of electricity without stopping. And if so, though that demand could be made by LNG or nuclear power plant. So if the stance of a nuclear power plant will decide the amount of LNG demand in Korea. For example, in Japan, this year's energy plan, strategic energy plan, mentioned not only the scenario of decreasing demand of LNG, but also increasing demand of LNG. It's mentioned. They call it worst scenario. The reason is that AI require a lot of electricity. Japanese government include AI factor in deciding energy mix. Maybe Korean government also will include AI factor, because new administration is pushing AI initiative aggressively. So we have to watch.
Please identify yourself before you ask a question to the speaker.
Hello, thank you for this talk today. My name is Isla Lumberry. I'm a graduate student at Georgetown University. And my question is with regard to the Alaska LNG pipeline project. Outside of the U.S. Korea and then U.S. Japan cooperation on that project, how do you foresee the nature of the dialogue and cooperation between Korea and Japan themselves with regard to that? Or do you see them operating more in isolation? Thank you.
So as I mentioned, Japanese government agreed on the establishment JV for the Alaskan LNG project. But you have to know that Japanese government, METI and Japanese companies like JERA, they kind of ordered Wood Mackenzie about the analysis of the project. So it means that still Japan did not fully committed to the project. They still want to full information, full analysis before full commitment. That's what I think about that issue. And one more thing is that, as I mentioned, Japan is more familiar with the environment of Alaska than Korea, because it imported LNG since 1969, and it powered world first LNG thermal power plant at that time. So more familiar with Alaska than Japan. Japan is more familiar with Alaska than Korea. Yeah.
Scott?
I'm Scott Snyder here at KEI also. My question for you is basically how South Korea and Japan can manage the seemingly conflicting pressures that exist between short-term political pressure to purchase energy and LNG and the long-term nature of a lot of the contracts in terms of projected demand. It seems to me like that's a very complicated situation that both Korea and Japan face. And there may be some reasons why they want to adjust their energy mix based on strategic considerations, but there's also a potential risk that if they pledge to get into too many long-term contracts for LNG purchase, that they'll end up having an excess and they might have to resell some LNG on the market. So I'd be interested in your perspective on that, given the fact that on the political side, it's really a pressure to balance our bilateral trade balances that is driving a lot of the pressure for LNG purchases.
And as a U.S. Secretary of Energy mentioned that the natural gas is main export items for the U.S. and for Korea and Japan, natural gas became a item to make rebalance of trade surplus or deficit. Yeah. And as of now, for Korea, there is some expired long-term contract and recent agreement with the U.S. company is the replacement of that big vacuum. And maybe for Japan also, as I mentioned, it depends too much on Australia, so there is some cause to diversify the LNG demand towards other stable supplier like the U.S. Maybe what you really concerned is the demand, the size of demand, LNG demand in the future. That's if there's no other factor, it has been mentioned that LNG demand will decrease as the renewable energy will replace many electricity demand. The changing factor is AI. AI became kind of backbone of all industry, all economic development. But it necessitates a lot of sustainable supply of electricity. Still, renewable energy industry couldn't resolve the problem of sustainable, stable supply of electricity without stopping. So, if we consider the factor of AI, maybe there will not be some sudden decrease of LNG demand as previously predicted. That's my guess.
Do you have a question? Gentleman behind Scott. Please identify yourself.
I thank you for this presentation. My name is Seong-ik Oh, came from DMB, the Korean Chamber of Commerce. I'm a vice president there. So my question is this one. Last year, oh, by the way, I'm also doing some HVAC, which is mechanical business as a HVAC. Last year, I got a news about those LNG, which is in HVAC field. We hear the rumor we're gonna change it. All the house natural gas line USA to change it to electricity. So all the manufacturers, they stop making natural gas furnace. Instead of that, they made it electric heat pump, just a full house, just electric heat pump. So last year, kind of confusion about, oh, we're gonna stop using LNG, or we're gonna keep using LNG in U.S. In our field. So my question is this: after new government in USA, their switches, they just said no, we're gonna terminate that regulation. Now we go back to LNG again. That's America right now. We are doing it. How about Korea? I'm just curious about, it depends on the government or depends on the, policies. I really, in my side, was really confused about depends on the situation about, I saw the plan, LNGs, you guys making huge investment, and suddenly America stopped using LNG. And here, what's going on? You understand my question?
Yeah. So for Korea, it is expected that newly established energy ministry, the full name is Ministry of Climate, Energy and Environment. That ministry, the minister of that ministry, the chief of that ministry, is very friendly towards renewable energy. So, and many policies can be more responding to climate change. That is expected. The issue is that maybe those change require a lot of budget to subsidize those changes, as the U.S. government did previously. But I'm not sure. In Korea, we have a lot of work to do. And the new we have to wait for how much that the responding to climate change issue is prior in allocating government budget to support that transition or the change. So we have to watch it. Thank you.
I think we have now time for conclude the session. So I'd like to extend my sincere thanks for Dr. Oh for your
my pleasure.
Insightful presentation and thoughtful analysis, and also for our audience for your active participation and questions. So your paper will be featured in the upcoming issue of the Korea Policy. So for those who are interested in this issue, please stay tuned for our publication, which will be out in December. So thank you once again for your joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. Have a nice day.
Thank you.